I try and provide information by virtue of what I've experienced, the speed at which I'm learning by virtue of what I'm experiencing, and then I share with others. And when you're operating essentially between two systems, one that is fallen and one that is eternal life. And so when you already know that at 4 years of age and you know why you're here, which is a mission critical specialists, which is like special access keys. And so I use a lot of words that are sort of encrypted, but they're easily translatable. It's like, how much time and energy do I want to spend to break it down and give you a proper translation of what I actually mean by that, particularly using the English language. When you realize a goal on fire is silent running, and why, when I was a child, the golden rule, the eternal law of spheres, the law of least effort to experience no pressure, which is no density, which is no mass. And that means that you're willing to surrender every single last electron, which is all your electrical power, in order to serve. So now you're a server, right? A self-generating server. And that's basic logic that you would experience being that, because now you're experiencing direct power, the eternal director of power, that crystal wave spiral. And so it's natural. That's a natural way to be, and that's why we call it a beloved, be what love is. And so when I was a child, I acknowledged that I'm measuring the loss and gain as the exchange rate between one access point and another access point, or one seed and another seed, what we're all experiencing being one, right? The eternal directory of all seeds that have ever been planted or ever will be planted, because there's always something new to plant, which means there's always a new song to play, which is what love is. Yeah. So I've always acknowledged I'm a musician. We're healing musicians. So healing me is healing you. And the speed at which I can rebuild what I am to run what I call maximum overdrive. The overdrive, the over-unity drive, the 13th starfire light cycle, the 13th mother arc tetrahedron, 2-4 squares. That's the Alhambra crystal networks, right? Silver and gold mated one, the one I serve, forever and always on. And so because so much information has come out through, I try and simplify this. You're aware of what you are aware of as a cellular recorder. The sound recording speed that you're experiencing what you are, which is based on your record, which is your sound recording. So your sound recorder belongs to you. My sound recorder belongs to me. I love to play love songs, so I live in love songs. The inflow and the outflow, and thus the return flow, experiencing being one. So there isn't any delay, so there isn't any decay. Yeah, and that's an eternal shield, which is an eternal template, because we're firing divine right mathematical firing order, the sequences right on time. That's breathing right on time. So we're not breathing any shadow body miasma. We're not breathing any parasitic codes feeding on our electrical power, because we're using our electrical power to be in service. And that's a service contract, which is based on what? Usage rate and loss and gain between density and dimension. Acceleration of multidimensional consciousness waves, the radio waves, right? And so I acknowledge, for example, a number of different players, like in play mode, their cellular recorder is now experiencing what they're experiencing by virtue of what they're communicating, that we can see in a holographic visual mathematical way what they're communicating, for example, using the English language. And so I managed to be able to hook up, hey, the hook, the dial tone, hang up the phone. The hook, remember the hook on the phone? Captain Hook, Disney, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I know. And so another speakerphone happened to hit on a lot of really great points as an access points when he talked about the consumption of another living sentient being. And I certainly have covered that, but I was going to speak to what he was speaking to about 72s. So we know that 72, if you add 7 and 2, that's 9, but they flip it upside down because a 9 is not a 6. And so what ends up happening is you see what a hybrid war is. Max Spears talked about this. Like particularly if you want to translate it through 1939 Poland, right? Operation Barbarossa, the Russian front, while at particular times and access points, the launch as intruder races alliance, the timing factor, the visual mathematical timing factor of deadlight codes, mortal body codes, right? Implosion codes, nova codes. So therefore, the hybrids become what we call expendable batteries. They're simply used as battery slaves on a checkerboard, okay? Which is expendable, like expendable diapers. They don't matter to us. We just use them as battery operated slaves to go to war for us. That's it. And they're just used up. So you can translate that to every Star Wars video game as a seated race. And then you can translate that through monad wars on electrical power and deities. The deity planes that she mentioned one time. And why it's a cosmic level reset. That means nobody can do anything about it. Once it's done, it's done. That's a cosmic level SWAT team, which means we're done playing Star Wars video games. Love is the law and it's not negotiable anymore. I know, Mama. And so you can see how that relates, for example, why I'm where I'm at on the Big Island. I draw a lot of fire. And I'm supposed to draw a lot of fire, particularly as it relates to bioneurological weapons. So you realize those become the expendables because, as Lay mentioned to me, a triple rainbow, that this island became a dumping ground for hybrids. They were directing them all to come over here. And I can remember somebody by the name of PB mentioned this was their strong point. So what is a point? An access point. So if they have access to this place, the largest shield volcano. Now you understand what the negative 13 reversal spiral is. And I'm the 13th mother arc. The crystal spiral. Why I'm here on this island. Okay? Because while that energy is focusing all of its energy on me, what happens? When the shields are up, that means that's less attention that's being focused on others. And what does that allow them to do? Recode, and the speed at which it can recode their shield. Because now they're experiencing less interference patterns being directed at them. That means their speed, their curving space, curving wave speed vectors is increasing at a higher rate of speed, which means their accretion level is rising. And that will increase the strength of their solar-coded consciousness, which increases the strength of their shield. That's why we're all here. Because you can imagine what it's like when a unit of consciousness is backed up in a corner, right? When it paints itself into a corner that it can't get out of its own corner because it painted itself into that corner. That's like a rabid wolf, a rabid dog, right? It becomes desperate, really desperate, like a desperado that will seek any pathway that it can to get into an access point to begin writing its code. So it never loses its state of awareness of what it's feeding on because it needs that electrical power. And when the shields are up, what happens? It begins feeding on its own kind. You see how we translate that? Those are the expendables. The expendable battery-operated slaves. Till their power's gone. Just siphon one off another battery. There goes that battery. Siphon one off another battery. There goes that battery. Siphon off that battery. There goes that battery. Because the shields are not up. That's called killing numbers. That's what it does. Because that's the game. It's a money game. A four-square money game. The Monopoly game. Get out of jail free cards. A free spirit. Spirits love to be free, to play music. When they're all being loved, which is eternal law of playing a love song. That's the music we play. The very first shine. The inner crystal rainbow. The inner crystal roars. You all have a beautiful day, wherever you happen to be. The sun is shining. The very first golden shine of the silver and gold mated one. The one I serve. Ah, yeah.